7:10 is the time. The Dean of Belfast has announced that he's to retire. Houston McKelvey broke the news at St Anne's Cathedral yesterday morning. Dean McKelvey has held the post, which of course includes taking on the role of Black Santa, braving the elements on the steps of St Anne's each Christmas since 2001. And he joins us now on the line. Good morning to you.
Good morning, Mark.
So why now?
The pup is getting older. Basically a matter of age, you know. Time moves on, and I've enjoyed my time at the cathedral, and it's time to explore other forms of ministry and to see a little bit more of the world in the life that's left me, please God.
Do you think that those sit-outs over the last 8 or 9 years have taken their toll on you physically and mentally?
Not really. Okay, there's not much joy on a really wet, cold day standing out in the street, but tremendous experience, great way of meeting people, and the crack is usually good. And you and I shared an experience in Sri Lanka following the sit-out for the tsunami some years ago, and we saw at the sharp end how the generosity of people in this area absolutely helped to change and revitalise the lives of people who had been hard hit in another part of the world. And it's when one has an experience like that in one's memory bank of just hordes of people coming across a very wet Belfast street and queuing up, that the memory of that tsunami sit-out is something that still moves me deeply.
Yeah. I mean, it was certainly a fascinating and life-changing experience, I'm sure, for both of us to be able to make that connection on your behalf for the people who gave the money and on our behalf for viewers and listeners to see that the money actually does make a difference on the ground, because that's why people give. There's so much trust involved in all of that, isn't there?
There's a sacredness to it, and I think the fact that it is happening at a cathedral means that we've got to be that much more responsible. And over the years I've built up friendships with people who work in the various charities and groups around the place. And I was sorry to leave those friendships behind, but that's part of life. And I think that the quality of people we get coming into the cathedral, usually in the first Sunday in February, for the Good Samaritan service, as we now call it, recognising the window of the Good Samaritan behind the altar, they're quality people. They're the people who make a very positive contribution to Northern Ireland. And I think that's been one of the great things about cathedral ministry. And yesterday, for example, we had in the Royal Irish Regiment, and there's that whole sort of tradition of military services and civic services. I mean, the one civic service that sticks in my mind most of all was the 75th anniversary of Guide Dogs for the Blind. Quite moving to see a sightless person being taken up to read the scriptures in the pulpit with his German Shepherd. But as I was accompanying the Deputy Lord Lieutenant, Commander Keith Cochrane, down the aisle, I discovered that we had a veritable guard of honour of black and yellow Labrador heads peering out from each of the pews. And I must say, they were all very good Anglicans. They lay down for the sermon and for the readings, and they stood up for the hymns.
Good. I hope they didn't sleep.
No, not that day. Not that day.
I mean, those big ceremonies, those big occasions, and there have been royal visits and significant funerals, and that's very much a part of the life of the cathedral congregation. And the role of Dean, of course, is absolutely critical in all of that. There's the administrative side to the job as well, which must be extremely hard work and can, on occasions, be controversial. Now, I mean, I have to ask you if your decision to go at this time has anything to do with, directly or indirectly, the decision to axe the post of Director of Music at the Cathedral, because that has been a controversial one, a difficult one that had to be taken.
Well, it's quite difficult because part of the problem with Belfast Cathedral is that it's a cathedral that is still being built, and we have no inherited money worth talking about. Most English cathedrals have a substantial reserve of finance. The finance that the people gave for the cathedral was spent building the cathedral. And the source of income, which we value most of all around the cathedral, believe it or not, is the car parks. Well, whenever a new multi-storey car park opens in your vicinity, and the market trend takes the income radically lower, the people in charge of the money, and I was not involved in any decision in that respect, but I recognise the hard facts of the financial case which they had to face, and everyone in business is having to downsize, and the cathedral is no different. And quite frankly, when you look at the province at the minute and the number of well-established firms that have closed, and indeed one of our own parishioners had to close his business last week, that affects the cathedral.
So finances are difficult for the cathedral as they are elsewhere. Do you think, just finally, your lasting legacy, what you will be remembered for, will be the spire?
Not particularly. I would hope that we'd be remembered for good quality worship, and particularly helping organisations and individuals to celebrate those events in their lives which mattered, and that includes everything from the Queen's Jubilee visit to the bereavement of a loved one. Okay,
well, thank you very much for joining us this morning. You're doing this out again this year, we should point out.
Oh, yes.
You're not going till
16th of December, we'll come round, God willing.
Well, no doubt we'll be talking to you at that point.
Thank you.
Thanks, in the meantime, Dean Houston McGarvey there, who announced his retirement from that position at
Guide dogs
service
was rather
yesterday.
a lovely image, wasn't it?
Yes, it was.
Very nice.
Wouldn't be drawn on whether they were fully listening or not.
No.